Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. I've been following the trial for the most part since it started. I have some thoughts for sure. So let's get into it and let's discuss some of the big moments that have happened so far during this trial. Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Reacts. Typically I don't cover things like this on the channel, but I think it's so fascinating and interesting following this trial for the most part, and just seeing certain things come out of the trial that I think is just so bizarre and so weird that I wanted to talk about some things that I think is most interesting, and just stuff like this, which is so hilarious. So Dr. Shannon Curry, who is not pictured here, this is one of Amber's lawyers, Elaine, I guess her name's Elaine because in the response, because there are certain things that she brought up in the cross-examination, but Dr. Shannon Curry was brought upon by Johnny's counsel, and she is the one that gave Amber Heard a bunch of different tests. I think this was ordered by the court, that she was to give Amber a bunch of different tests and to assess basically Amber Heard as a whole and basically come to whatever conclusion it is. It's not about being biased. It's about the data. Like, what does it show? Does Amber have any disorders? And apparently she has two disorders that has been proven by several different methods, which we'll get to a tweet that addresses that. But this is what it says. Amber has borderline personality disorder and histrionic, is I hear pronounce that? Histrionic personality disorder. And Elaine, pictured here, which is one of Amber Heard's lawyers, let's talk about the muffins and dinner drinks, which is something that she brought up heavily about the fact that, did you tell your husband that you were seeing Amber Heard, like you were going to be assessing her and everything? Did you tell your husband that? No. Well, then why did he have muffins brought to you? It's like, well, my husband went and bought muffins and knew I was meeting a high-profile client because we have to move people from my office to another office because the client can't come in with everybody about. But he didn't know that it was specifically Amber Heard. And the whole thing about dinner and drinks is the fact that she went to Johnny's house and met with counsel for a few hours to discuss potentially bringing her on as, you know, a part of their team, or essentially basically to be brought upon to assess Amber and be a part of, you know, the whole entire trial thing and to be a expert witness. And the fact is that she openly said, Johnny couldn't come to my office, like that just would not work. And, this is an exception to normally what I do when I talk to potential clients. Here's the tweet I wanted to bring up. Now, I'm not saying that with Amber Heard being diagnosed with those two disorders explains everything in terms of what may or may not have occurred between Amber and Johnny. But the fact is that apparently she also was lying about certain things, and these are based off several tests, because it says here, Dr. Curry gave Amber Heard a CAPS-5 test, a PTSD assessment developed by the National Center for PTSD, and is specifically designed for a courtroom setting and filters out people who are faking. She concluded that Amber Heard was not suffering from PTSD, which apparently Amber was claiming she was suffering from. And there's also something about where Amber was hit some sort of percentile during a test, or a few different tests, where she basically, it's confirmed that she was over exaggerating certain responses and making it seem that, you know, she was trying to get a result that isn't true. And so that's a big thing. This whole thing is seriously a mess, and we're not even done with Johnny's witnesses that he's brought forth in terms of Johnny's counsel that's brought forth. And this is really interesting too. So we had 3 LAPD officers. I think they're being interviewed for the same incident that occurred, I think, back in 2016. But all 3 LAPD officers, didn't know who Amber Heard was. They did not see any injuries on Amber Heard, and they did not feel that Amber Heard was the victim of domestic abuse, which is interesting. And there's people out there saying, oh, all 3 of them are lying. Well, first of all, okay, I get it. There is a bad look on cops now in terms of certain cops, you know, doing very bad things and not good people. But you're saying that 3 separate individuals that were a part of this case that went down back in 2016 in terms of being called upon and going to, I think it was a hotel or something. And you're saying all 3 of them are lying for Johnny's sake? Like, what would they have to gain for lying about this? And the fact is, there's been other witnesses that have been on record saying that they didn't see any marks, they didn't see her getting hit or anything that she claims occurred. Now, there was one witness where freaking one of Amber's lawyers objected his own question because he's like, oh, hearsay. And he claimed there was cuts on her arm, but they potentially could be self-inflicted. Not saying they were self-inflicted in terms of seeing the scratches on her arm, but they could be self-inflicted. Here's that tweet I was actually addressing earlier. So, on the objective scale of trauma, there is a malingering scale, and Amber Heard was in the 98th percentile, meaning she had engaged in heavy dishonesty and gross exaggeration, responding to the fact that Amber was trying to over-exaggerate her responses, because she knew she was being, tested. She knew that she was going to be evaluated. So she tried to take this opportunity, it seems, to over-exaggerate things, to make it seem like she truly was suffering from PTSD, and she was, that more things were bothering her than is actually the case. Here's the lawyer objecting his own question. I don't know how loud it's going to be, but hopefully it's decent.
Dr. Kipper told me he sustained an injury on one of his fingers.
Objection, hearsay. Wait, you asked the question. Oh.
That was the judge. You asked the question. There's a close-up of Johnny. He's laughing because Amber Heard's team has been pro-objection hearsay to pretty much everything. And a number of it, they have to move on, because if you talk to somebody and they say someone else said this, it's hearsay. But what I love is that literally he's asking the guy questions. He's cross-examining this guy, the lawyer, Amber's lawyer, and he objected to his own question because he's like, well, I talked to this person. This person's like, no, hearsay. Like, you asked the question yourself. You should have let Johnny's lawyer, because one of them has to go objection. But no, he objects his own question. Ah, yes, the petition for Aquaman 2 to remove Amber Heard. It has now crossed over 1.9 million on the sign. I think I signed that. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe I should. This is interesting. I just found this. Amber Heard in her 2016 deposition on this episode of Amber Heard Lies. I didn't see that part. She is talking about the police officers and what they saw. Meanwhile, in reality, the 4 police officers testified to not seeing a crime. Also notice her aggression. Because I think early on in this thing. 2016. Yeah, this is the same date.
Done anything wrong to you that night or before?
You're asking me if I've told them.
If you told them.
See that? Like you see like a I don't know what that was, but there's something specifically she brings up here.
At this time, as per the advice of my counsel.
My counsel.
Did the
They
police
did
Okay.
make a comment to me
Let's see.
about it seeming unsafe. That's why they needed to check the apartment. They made a gesture to my face. They said that I looked hurt.
You looked hurt. Okay. So apparently that's not the case, because the officers, from what I'm understanding, all testified that they did not see her have injuries from what they could tell. So, but apparently they're like, oh, we see you're
Me
hurt.
aside and said, look, just say a statement. We can make sure you're safe. Just say a statement or give us a statement.
This is interesting as shit, because this deposition stuff has been out for a while in terms of her deposition, but wow. This was 22 minutes ago from That Umbrella Guy. I think he's a guy who's been keeping up with all of this in terms of the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. He's been posting a lot of stuff. I've heard his name quite a bit around people following and keeping up with this and sharing information. So this guy right here, he's actually being interviewed right now. I think I don't know, it might have already stopped at this point, but how do you know that Johnny Depp's career was damaged related to the accusations of domestic abuse? Amber Heard against Depp. So basically, how do you know that his career was actually affected? Studios told me, execs, directors. So he was been told by the studios, executives, and directors that this has hurt him. And it has, because literally his resume dropped off significantly after that piece came out that she wrote. And of course, that's why he's suing her. Yeah, so this guy's openly saying, I know, because it wasn't just the studios, it wasn't just executives, it was directors. It was multiple parties on all different levels of Hollywood, essentially. This is crazy. That Umbrella Guy, again, do you think Amber Heard faked injury or a crime? This is being asked during a recorded interview. No. Why not? Because there was no injury or proof of a crime. Holy crap. Johnny Depp's agent just said he lost Pirates of the Caribbean 6 role due to Amber Heard's op-ed. Thanks, Elaine. We're done now. And that's the lawyer that one of Amber's lawyers that does cross exams. She's the one who cross examined the Dr. Shannon Curry yesterday. Oh yeah, yesterday. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. The Muffin Man. Now, most of what we've been hearing is from Johnny's side in terms of the witnesses, but also Amber's team has been putting text messages and audio clips into evidence in terms of, that's actually against him, of course, and we've had back and forth between stuff being added into evidence. I think this case is going to get really interesting, especially when we jump to Amber's side of things, where we start calling witnesses for her, and then when she takes the stand. When she takes the stand, it's going to be the most interesting thing out of this whole thing, I think. Now, Johnny speaking up and actually responding to questions, unlike where Amber's lawyer, one of her lawyers, doing the cross-exam for Depp and just asking him if he's read text messages correct over and over and over, which I'm like, my God. Just ask him a question. Like, all you're doing is reading text messages. Did I read that correct? Yes, you did. And Johnny was just getting fed up with it. It's like, ask him a question. And then he read a bunch of articles that were reported, and they weren't, like, there's no way you can actually prove it unless you have actual people, like sources coming forward. But he sat there and just read through a bunch of articles that came out, I think, before the op-ed that Amber wrote, saying that Johnny was drunk and coming to set late and doing all this kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah. And Johnny kept responding like as quickly as he could, because the guy just kept rolling through articles and shit going, yeah, reported. Maybe you should read the article. Shut up, computer. Maybe you should read the article. And maybe, maybe that'll help you out, because maybe you should read these instead of the headlines, because as we know, headlines love to over-exaggerate stuff, but also a lot of these reports probably that he was reading in terms of, articles and shit, were they actually legitimate? Who's to say? It doesn't matter, because he can use it and they go, look, Johnny Depp's bad. Okay, we can do the same thing for Amber. You know what I'm saying? So this whole thing's a mess. It really is, but I think it's going to get far more interesting before it ends, for sure. Because right now, we're just getting so much stuff that is working for Johnny and against Amber. But what's going to happen when it flips? I don't know. But for me, I'm loving the ride, and I can't wait to see what happens next. What do you guys think of this whole thing? What do you think of it so far? Do you think Johnny is in the right? Do you think that Amber lied? Or are you on Amber's side? Whatever thoughts you have, I'm curious to know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.